You're listening to the Mobcast Network. Nagamaru!
It's the Star Wars creature Cantina that you put together. Action figures each sold separately. You can make them move on revolving discs with the action lever. You can even make them fall.
Gotcha, Hammerhead! Got him. I told you not to follow me, Greedo.
You owe us money, Han Solo.
You're not gonna collect this time. Wow, what a weird place.
Kenner's new Star Wars creature Cantina. Action figures sold separately.
Action figures each sold separately present Star Wars, A Night in the Cantina.
Nagamaru.
Han Solo turned and glanced at the Ithorian at the bar.
What? Nagamaru.
The Ithorian said again. On that last vocal volley, the smuggler got the full effect of the foul stench emanating from the alien's mouth. It was the combination of the swill the cantina bartender was serving and the sweet smell of regret. Of course, Han wasn't sure if that last part was coming from the alien or from himself.
All right, slow down, Hammerhead. You're drunk.
I am not.
He managed to say in the basic tongue.
Nagamaru means... to my people, Nagamaru is...
His long, slender face fell as he pondered for a moment. He then stared at the smuggler for a quiet minute before letting out a chuckle.
You're right. I am drunk. You know it hurts my feelings when you call me Hammerhead.
I thought it was your name.
No, it's not my name. Look, it would be the same if I called you Walrus Man or Pruneface.
Well, I never...
shouted a Dracilian as he stood up from the bar. The creature's face was round and, well, prune-like. Apparently it was a sore spot for him.
I thought this cantina would be more tolerant.
No, I wasn't calling you a prune face.
Hammerhead tried to defend himself, but his appeal fell on deaf ears.
Maybe you shouldn't call anyone names.
The Dracilian stormed out of the bar, slamming the door behind him. Hammerhead was flabbergasted.
But that was my point.
Han chuckled and reached to pay the bar tab. He had his fill for the night and needed to get back to the Falcon. Maybe Chewie had finished calling his wife back on Kashyyyk, and hopefully this time he wasn't crying. Han didn't understand Wookiee culture. He was glad he saved Chewbacca from slavery, but didn't realize he was going to have a weepy Wookiee hanging out with him. Have you ever smelled a Wookiee when it was wet? It was a smell that lingered. You could never get it out of your nostrils. Han shuddered at how much of his operating costs went into air fresheners, though he did like the smell of Alderaanian pine. Hammerhead slapped Han on the back.
Barkeep, shots. Line 'em up.
No, buddy, I'm out for the night. Chewie and I have an early morning. Got some cargo to get to the core.
Come on, Han. Just one more.
Sorry, pal, I gotta go.
The Ithorian stood up and his bar stool tumbled to the ground. His nostrils flared, his large eyes narrowed. He meant business. Han could see by the creature's body language that he had no choice but to relent, or this would end in a pile of blaster shots, burnt skin, and blood. The bartender looked worried, but Han just raised his hands.
All right, line 'em up. You win, Hammerhead. Let's drink.
Hammerhead took the first shot. Han then took his, followed by Hammerhead, and then Han. Back and forth they went until they reached the fifth shot. Han smiled as he saw the Ithorian wobbling. 2 shots later, Hammerhead could barely see straight. The bartender poured one last shot, which Hammerhead downed, set his glass on the bar top, gave Han a salute, and promptly collapsed on the floor.
Gotcha, Hammerhead. Hey, he's got my tab tonight. Oh yeah, and this is for you.
Han pulled out a credit chip and set it in front of the bartender.
Thanks for the water.
The bartender picked up the measly 1 credit tip and offered a smile, but he really wanted to say, "Thanks for the tip. Enjoy sitting on the space toilet." The bartender sure as hell didn't trust the water on Tatooine. It was made from the moisture that he could only imagine came from bantha farts. Of course, He would be the first to admit he wasn't a scientist, but he went to college and got himself a fancy bartending degree. Sometimes he would long for those lost college days. It was the best 2-week correspondence course of his life. Han stepped over Hammerhead's body and was walking to the door when Greedo walked in.
Guta guta solo.
I told you not to follow me, Greedo. All right, I don't have time to deal with you tonight.
Greedo pulled out his blaster and pushed it into the smuggler's stomach, ushering him toward a table.
I guess I can make time.
You owe us money, Han Solo.
I don't owe Jabba anything.
Not Jabba, me.
For what?
You got my sister pregnant.
I did not. Rhodians and humans can't have children. It's impossible.
That may be true, but you still owe us money.
For what?
You broke my sister's heart. You don't understand how much a therapist costs here on Tatooine.
It doesn't work that way.
I believe it does.
Greedo raised his blaster, aiming directly for the smuggler's heart.
You're not gonna collect this time.
A laser bolt flew from under the table, blasting Greedo.
No blasters!
He hunched over, slammed onto the table, before rolling onto the floor, revealing the smoldering hole that was now his chest. It was clear that this would be Greedo's last shakedown. Han turned to see the whole cantina looking at him, human and strange alien alike, staring at him with those jaws that were dropped in stunned silence. Han blinked. He thought these things happened all the time in bars. You know, drunken Ithorians, offended Dracilians, dead Rhodians, just a normal Tuesday night. He could tell that maybe this wasn't going so well for him. Maybe murder was a real sore spot here on Tatooine. Han had to come up with something quick.
He, didn't pay his tab.
Once the bar patrons heard Han, they reached into the pockets and started bombarding the bartender with credits. They weren't going to be executed for not paying their bar tab. The bartender was happy. This would be the best night the Cantina had seen in months. He almost felt bad for giving the smuggler the tainted Tatooine water earlier. Han felt a little tremor in his stomach, but shook it off. He wasn't far from the Falcon. He'd take care of business there. He looked back once more, seeing Hammerhead still passed out on the floor and Greedo still smoldering.
What a weird place.
Action Figures Each Sold Separately presents Star Wars, A Night in the Cantina. Starring John Cantees as Han Solo, Patrick Means as Hammerhead, Angel Frame as Pruneface, Kevin LaPorte as Greedo, and yours truly, Pablo, as the narrator. Written and directed by Scotty O. White. Find this and other great episodes at mopcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Mopcast Network. A Stupid Mop Studios production.
Thank you for listening to the Mopcast Network.